Some people are very famous. Other people, well, they're kind of famous. But most of us, we're not famous at all. But we all have something in common. Everybody's got at least one great story. Hi, everybody. This is Mike Cotton, and welcome once again to Their Stories. And as usual, we've got a fascinating, fantastic guest. We're going to jump back into the world of entertainment music, which is one of my favorite things. And let me tell you a little bit about this guest first, and before we bring him on. He's a former United States Navy member, United States Marines, I guess once a Marine, always a Marine, veteran, and he considers his music, he's on a mission, and it's a continuation of his service. Kind of like me, what I do today, particularly with my film Back to China Beach, is we try to keep the story alive of the real true story of what happened in Vietnam. He's got 6 studio albums, millions of streams, views across all platforms, and he's performed with some heavies, Aerosmith, Shinedown, Leonard Skinner in Kansas, as well as country stars Charlie Daniels, Travis Tritt, Lone Star, and Toby Keith. Also performed at the NFL games, National Hockey League, NASCAR, Special Olympics. This is a fun one. Sturgis Buffalo Chip for the motorcycle rally. World Police and Fire Games, Military Bowl, National Police Week, Great American Outdoor Show, and I'm sure there's about 50 more. Fox and Friends. Anyway, goes on and on. He's got a rock rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. It's gotten millions of views, over 1.5 million streams, and is one of the most recognized and popular versions of the song. He's released his first solo album, Music on a Mission, which charted on iTunes at rock charts and includes the breakout single, Haunting Tribute, Last Call. His sophomore solo album, and for you people in Pasadena, that means this is his second album, Too Far Gone, released and garnered him national success in both country and rock genres. His latest release, Hallelujah, a police tribute, is quite emotional and powerful, and it's gaining a lot of traction. So without further ado, and we can talk about this guy forever, but let's have him talk about himself. Please welcome a shooting star in the music and the entertainment business, Dave Bray. Dave, how are you?
Well, Mike, thank you for the amazing introduction. Shout out to all of our veterans out there, and, Semper Fi to my Marine brothers and sisters.
Yep, hoorah. Yeah, I did go to military school, though, for 4 years to Georgia Military Academy, but I understand the mindset of my veterans out there, and my son-in-law's a tanker Marine, my brother is airborne, and my uncle landed at Guadalcanal, so I got to listen to some of his stories, but very important to keep their mission alive, and I mean you're doing that. I mean it's just amazing. And I missed your last show in the Panhandle, but I did go to several others. I did go to the one at Rex. What was at the Rex Theater? That was a couple of years ago, and that was just really fantastic.
Well, thanks, man. Appreciate that. And thanks for the what the kids call glazing this day and age is when you speak kindly of somebody else, you're glazing them. So I have 2 teenage sons. My wife Becky is who we call mission control behind Music on a Mission. We started back in 2016. We were with a record label for over 5 years and a touring act with a band called Madison Rising, and then went out on our own. So it's been an interesting few years, man. It's been hectic. It's been up and down. It's a roller coaster ride. The music business is horrible, as you know, but we're trying to carve our way through it, and we do what we can. Music on a Mission. The mission continues.
Well, just the entertainment business in general. We've, over the years, worked with a lot of young people. My career actually started in 1954 in my dad's nightclub, helping him pick up beer bottles on Saturdays at Peachtree and Baker Street in Atlanta. It was and went from country music to what he called hillbilly music to a big band supper club. And, I don't know who a lot of these people are, but I'm meeting Tommy Jimmy Dorsey and Count Basie and Duke Ellington and on and on and on. And later on, I realized I was in the presence of legends. And but I saw, what these people went through. This is not for the faint of heart. It's just like the film business and anything that's connected to this. You've got to have a passion, and you definitely have a passion for the music and the business, because, like you say, it's a lot of ruthless characters out there you got to deal with sometimes.
That's an understatement.
I'm being nice. I'm being nice.
There's a quote that goes something like, I can't remember how it goes, like, in this world there are the snakes and the alligators and the sharks and all these things, and usually those are the people that are guiding you through the music business. But it is definitely one of those things, and especially nowadays, social media, it's changed the landscape, it's changed the actual business.
Totally.
But what we consider my continuation of service is a little different, and it's more about giving back. It's not about self-grandizing and being it more about others, doing for others with music and allowing music to heal. And that's one of the reasons I got into music was, through some harsh times in life growing up as a kid, small town, losing friends, losing family members. I always found myself, diving into a song or diving into music or a record to help me escape. And I feel like that healing power of music is something you can't find in any other medium and any other thing. It's one of those things that lets you know that you're not alone in the world in the way you feel, and if you share it properly and it's done correctly, you can help heal others with the power of music.
Let's go back a little bit. I like in this show, it is their stories, and so we do like to get some background of, kind of where you're from, where you grew up, when you got interested in music or got interested in the military. Could you kind of just give us a little rundown of your early life and how you got here?
Sure. I grew up in a little town called Jefferson, Pennsylvania. It was a suburb of a small town, so it's out there. It's farming country, a lot of Mennonite farms, produce farms, and churches and a few homes, and just a little small town with a roundabout with an old World War I soldier, fixed bayonet charging in the middle. Wow. And that soldier we passed every day on the way to school, and there was a few cannons in the circle, and supposedly somewhere along the line, Union Army had marched towards Gettysburg in that direction to try to follow the spring and the water supply that was running down along this little trail along these 7 valleys that is the next town over.
Are you near York? Is that near York, Pennsylvania?
Yep, it's outside of York, Pennsylvania.
I used to go to the Summer Nationals drag races in York back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. So there's some history to the area. Again, connected to in between Gettysburg and Valley Forge, sort of halfway in the middle.
Right.
And so there's some background to it. There was an old smelting area that was making it munitions in the area. And so just growing up in a small town of about maybe 300 people, we didn't have a stoplight. Like I said, we had a roundabout. You had a gas station, a store, a post office, and churches. And then the rest was farmland. And as kids, you grew up. I was the paper boy in my town at the age of 11, so I was about 13 until I could pick up a hay bale. And then I was working farms and produce farms and cutting cabbage at 13, 14, 15 years old. And then I worked in a little restaurant for a while. But long story short is my dad was a Navy guy. My brother had enlisted in the Navy. We have a long history of pilots and war heroes from World War I. There's a picture of my great uncle in an old Cadillac being brought home during a parade in Penargil, Pennsylvania, and he had lost his leg in the Battle of the Argonne Forest, and so his story, resonates through me. Our DNA is very similar. We have people that are in law enforcement, and all through our family, there's been service. And that wasn't really something that had been on my plan or on my docket as a young kid. But once I got to be about 15, 16 years old, there were some guys that had gone into the military and come home, and they were met with warm welcome, at events and things like that. And I said, boy, there's something to this. And I realized, at that age that, when you're 16, 17 years old, and you're not 100% sure if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a mechanic or, whatever, there's not a lot of options. And small town sort of is you're not exposed to a lot. So the military was one of those things that was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to serve my country during this time. And my sons are now 14 and 16, and we're looking at some of these options as well. So at a young age, you want to do something. You want to do something special. I didn't want to just go off to college like some of my friends. I wanted to do something exciting. I wanted to, hopefully jump out of airplanes or scuba dive and see the world. And that was the calling for me, was to get out of that small town. Right. And there were some issues there as well. And and I had been introduced to music, but there was some loss. There was a lot of heartache in that little small town that I was trying to escape. So the military was what called to me, and was the direction I took.
So did you pretty much go into the Navy right out of high school, or?
Yeah, I was delayed entry, so you can actually enlist in the Navy when you're 17,
right,
and you're on what's called a delayed entry program. So you're basically working with recruiters to help find other kids to join and young men to join the military. So I did that. I recruited I think 3 or 4 guys to join the military with me. So I went in as an E3. I walked in the door with a little bit of rank, and I went to basic training right out of high school, like you said. I graduated high school. I was off to basic in Great Lakes, and I was recruit chief petty officer of my little basic training, my little company 167. And yeah, man, I was sort of like a fish to water, and it was what I needed as a young man. I needed a little bit of discipline to take away a lot of the question marks that are sort of swirling around my head, and that discipline was a really nice focus.
I totally relate, because people say, all this stuff about the military, and you act like you're about this. I went to 4 years at Georgia Military Academy, which at the time was considered the military academy down south. That's where, if the parents had the money, you went to Georgia Military Academy. But and this is elementary school, and I lived there. But that really formed who I am as a person. It's been with me, things like respect and manners and those types of things, and back up your agreements with people. So that's, I just hear a lot of stories of people. I call them the wild childs, but the parents finally say, you're going to go in the military, and they come out and they're a different person. Well, what did you do when you got in? What was your job in the Navy?
So I started out, like you said, Dixie Cup Navy, man. Bell bottoms, little white hat, inside out,
Yeah.
And I was with, I went to Naval Hospital Charleston. I went to A school in Great Lakes to be a hospital corpsman.
Okay.
And I realized very quickly that I was not cut out for bedside manner,
right,
and folding sheets and giving, bed baths and wound care. I didn't enjoy that part of
right, being
a hospitalman. I was basically like a glorified nurse, and it wasn't what I signed up for. And a friend of mine, it ended up I ended up getting into trouble, and I was just like, I'm bored. I don't want to do this. I was angry that I joined the military. Again, I was with a little rock band in high school, and I was kicking myself. I said I should have stayed in the rock band. I should have just, why did I do this? I got myself at this hospital in Charleston, and I was in trouble a good bit. And one of the guys down there had sort of seen me, and he's just like, hey, I was at the gym all day and running and working out and exercising. He was going to Buds, but he was also with the EMS squad out of the hospital. And they didn't look like everybody else. They wore jumpsuits. They didn't muster with everybody else. They had their own little station. They were specialized, so it was a little something different. And as soon as they offered that to me, I immediately took it. I went to EMT school. I went to some of the fire training schools and some of these other things, and I was put in the EMS program, which really, really was way better for me. It sort of kept my mind busy. It was more fast-paced. I would volunteer. It actually started out, I got in trouble, and they made me go to the ER to work extra hours as a volunteer, and then I ended up loving the ER because it was fast-paced, and like I said, it was emergency wound care and treating trauma and those types of things. And it was after that a buddy of mine said, hey, man, you should go with the Marines.
Yep.
And I crossed over. I went to the Field Medical Training Battalion, the FMSS school, Camp Johnson, right above Camp Lejeune down there. And again, I did really well. I graduated top dog in my class.
And you're not a medic; you're a corpsman now.
Yeah, so now I'm a corpsman. So now we're.
I made the mistake of saying medic once on the set of the documentary we're doing, and they said they're not medics, they're corpsmen. But I'll never forget that. But when I saw your bio and I saw Navy / the Corps, I was like, I bet you this guy. He left and became a corpsman. But so I guess I was right. That was funny. that you said that.
So there I was, Greenside. I graduated. Most of the guys after that school, it's a high intensity school.
Yeah.
A lot of guys took at least a 96 or maybe a week off and I was like, man, I was chomping at the bit. I wanted to be with the Marine Corps. I wanted to meet my guys. I wanted to be a part of a unit. I wanted to feel what it felt like to do high speed, low drag Marine Corps stuff. So I charged down to the my 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marine. Battalion 8 station. I threw my envelope for graduation and my orders on the desk, and there was Senior Chief Bump, who was about 6'5", weighed about 250 pounds, was completely jacked, muscles bulging out of his camis, and he's like, who are you? I was like, I'm reporting for duty, sir. And he's like, first off, you don't call me sir, I'm Senior Chief. You can call me the Chief or Senior Chief, and that's it.
Right.
He's like, who are you? I was like, I'm Doc Bray. And he's like, well, you're not a doc yet. He's like, just squaring me away. He's like, wait a second, you're the top dog out of your class. I said, yeah. He's like, oh man. So he puts his sandwich down and he actually, went through my file and he's like, man, I need you in a special group. He's like, can you run? I said, yeah, I can run. He's like, okay, good. He's like, go down and meet Sergeant Tyler, and he's with Stay Platoon. I was like, wait, I don't want to be staying anywhere. I don't want to stay. I want to go. I want to be in the Go Platoon. He's like, no, surveillance, target acquisition. He's like, it's the sniper teams. He's like, you're going to fit in with these guys. I was like, all right. I go down. I meet Sergeant Tyler. His camis are older than most of the guys that are in that platoon. He'd been busted back numerous times, and that was it, man. I met my new brothers, and surveillance, target acquisition. These guys all had beards. They were just out of the field. They didn't have a corpsman for the last couple runs. They were working up, and I had found my home.
Well, you'd enjoy. Have you seen our movie Back to China Beach?
Yeah, you sent me a copy. Yeah.
Okay, and there's two guys in there were corpsmen. I think one of them actually had written a book, and those books are like, it's like you're right in the mix, with them, the way they wrote them. And but yeah, I was as experienced doing that. This comes from me as a teenager in the '60s and early '70s, hearing these stories from my friends. They're coming back, and I had a bit of a guilt complex somewhat that I somehow didn't get called. My number, I was married, had a kid, and I was single, and I went to 1A, and then we had the lottery back then, but my number was so high, and the war was going to end. So, but I feel like this is the least I can do, and they've appreciated that. I mean, from all branches, but particularly the Marines. I do a lot of locally here with the Marine Corps League, which you're probably familiar with, and they have quite a group here with this chapter, and we do a lot of different. In fact, this will be the 3rd year we've been hired to do film work at the ball, and of course, the ball this year is the 250th anniversary. So I've got my oldest daughter and her husband. I think he's lost 60 pounds. He says he can get in his uniform, and my cousin, who was a logistics guy up in Albany, but I'm real proud of them because they're going to come. I got them tickets and they're coming to the ball, so it's going to be wonderful in November. So, but everywhere I go and I show that film, no matter, and sometimes it's many different branches, but a lot of times it may be mostly Navy, Marines, but the story centers around Da Nang and these different places where they were mostly Navy and Marines anyway. But we have all branches in the film. But they do give me these medallions everywhere I go, and at first I was like, well, what is this? It's like, it basically says we love you and we love what you're doing and keep doing it. So, are
they the level challenge coins? Is that what you're talking about?
I think so. There's some different ones, but I says, so am I at least a mascot at this point? They go, oh yeah, you're more than a mascot. But the fact is, we figure over 2,000 or 3,000 Vietnam veterans have seen that film. 100% reviews are it's the most accurate film ever done. This is not talking about Hollywood dramatic films with actors, but as far as a documentary, that this nails it. And we didn't really start out that way. It was kind of like, oh, well, I'll talk to some of my knucklehead friends that went surfing in the middle of battles, and rocket launches at Da Nang. But I told my co-producer, Dave Barnes, who's very good, he's got a couple Emmys, and I said, this film will get legs, and it's going to end up being their entire lives. So if you saw the film, it's 55 years of history. But that has a pretty happy ending in the end, because these guys went through some real crap coming back,
Is that streaming anywhere? Is it on any of the platforms?
No, it's on my website. You can go on there. I've got my own platform on Vimeo. So you go to MikeCottonProductions.com. We have it on DVD. Believe it, people still buy DVDs, not CDs, but they buy DVDs. And and then I've probably done over 30 live presentations with the film. For me, that's really exciting because usually we get some people that are in the film or at least veterans that were there. So we go around, and that's usually a benefit for whatever vet organization, or it may be just a historical organization that supports veterans causes. So, but yeah, you can go to MikeCottonProductions.com, and in fact, you go there at the bottom of every page on my website. There's two buttons. One button will take you to my YouTube channel, and the other will take you to my main Facebook page. And the main Facebook page is really fluid. I mean, we've got stuff going on there all the time, and we do multiple things in the industry. I mean, we are obviously film video producers. Film's kind of become a generic term like Kleenex, I guess. But we do. I started digitizing 30 years ago, taking old 8mm movies and putting them on videotape. Today, it's of course all digitized because all that stuff is degrading now. So we do a lot of that type of work as well. And
have you not tried to get it onto like a Netflix or a Max or Paramount?
Yeah, we can. I just haven't done it. I mean, we can.
They pay crap, but it's good to get it on there. It's like YouTube. It's obviously we have a monetizing channel, and I've got. Do you know who Dean Dillon is? Wrote Tennessee Whiskey. He's got 21 number ones with George Strait, but he wrote Tennessee Whiskey. Quite a few years ago. It was recorded by a lot of other people before Chris Stapleton, but we did it. He did a solo in the main room at the Floribama 6 or 7 years ago, and we were asked to film that. And I tell you, just all the stars lined up on that, and quality-wise, the reviews on there. I've got about 500 or 600 reviews. Some people are saying it's the best produced solo concert like that on YouTube. So if you put that in, Dean Dillon, Floribama concert, or whatever, it's usually number one. It comes out. So we just passed, I think, 520,000 views on that.
Wow, that's great.
We get a lot. And you don't make a lot of money from that, but we get a lot of work. So people, these bands ask me, "Oh, can you film my band? Are you that good?" I go, so I show them Hall & Oates at the Box Center opening night. We did 7-camera shoot. It's like we don't get those every day, but we do all kinds of music videos and concerts and things like that. I think we filmed at the Floribama alone over 200 musical acts out there over the years.
Wow.
And two documentaries. We did one on their 50th anniversary in 2014, but then Joe Gilchrist, before he passed, who was the main owner and operator, he's the guy that really brought in the music there, the Songwriters Festival. And I did a biography of his life. It took me 3 years to do that one. So,
well, I keep getting people asking me when we are going to play the Floribama.
Well, so, let me see what good now. It's corporate owns it now, but they know me, and yeah, I'm surprised because you're involved with a lot of the go-getters here, Dave Glassman and people like that. I'm surprised they haven't gone out there, got you in. But let me see what I can do, and you certainly should be there for sure.
Yeah, the full band would kill down there because again, the full band is a completely different act than the solo guy, obviously.
Right.
It's patriotism. It's stuff that people know, and then we mix it up with a little bit of our own stuff. But it's an action-packed show. It's a high-energy show. But we also take a moment, in the middle to drop it down and go full honor and tribute. So it's a flag waver, and it's a heartstring puller, and then it's get people pumped up, and it's a throwback, and we do new stuff and old stuff. So we do rock, metal, country, folk, sing-along stuff, and we found that a lot of people are missing that opportunity. These guys we were just at a concert this week, and there was a guy, he's up there chugging out of a bottle of Jack Daniels, singing 8-10 of his own songs. He's got an hour, but he fills it in between every song with his story about how he wrote this next song that nobody's heard of. And I'm like, you got 20,000 people here who want to sing together. They want to feel like they're together. And these new artists are so busy pushing their own stuff that they forget, a song that everybody knows that they can sing together to is what brings that audience to life. And it was just a dead crowd, 20, 30,000 people just kind of like listening to this guy ramble on about, he's 26 years old and his heartache and all this stuff. And it's like, come on, dude, just play something we can sing. And these labels are missing. They're missing what we're offering, dude. They're missing what live music is meant to be and what was it meant to do, and that's bring people together.
Well, the whole thing, the business in general, and not just music, but the entertainment and the recording business and film production and so forth. It's now everybody's got a shot at creating their own thing, and you don't have to be on, NBC Wednesday nights prime time. It's, in fact, those networks are literally. I just looked at the ratings this morning, and they're, other than Fox, they're just dying. I don't know how they sell any advertising. Some of them, I don't even know how they're on the air. Somebody's got to be paying the bill, because I've been involved with a couple of networks, and it's not cheap to keep them on the air. So you wonder what the heck is going on, because there's so many alternatives now. It's like with me,
We probably need to do more PR and all that, but we're kind of I've always been unorthodox of what I do, and I guess you could say I'm a guerrilla marketing guy, and it's kind of like, and I don't know if I should say this. I took a crew to Vietnam, and you'll love this story. So, do you know who Rocky Blyer is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rocky's a friend of mine, which has become a friend. And we were trying, the version, if you've seen China Beach, that's the third version. It actually came out 5 years ago. But on the third version, I went to my partner, Dave Barnes. I says, we got something missing here. We need somebody that's got some recognition to intro the film. They need to come up on the camera right at the beginning. So I got close to Gary Sinise, but I was out of town when he came to Pensacola, and he had his band here and all that. And, he would have been approachable. And then I got as far with Mark Wahlberg. He donates millions to veterans causes. And I got as far as his brother. He says, well, we're going bankrupt with our hamburger chain right now, so it's not a great time. But I'm looking at these guys, and I can't hold it. They're not old enough to have been in Vietnam. Somebody sent me from ESPN a little 10-minute documentary of Rocky Blyer going back to the battlefield where he was injured and won the Bronze Star in Vietnam. And he went over there. It was very emotional. It was very well done. And I saw this, and I went, geez, I can't believe I haven't seen this before. It turns out we used to do a lot of news. We went for about 6 years. We were doing 2, 3, 4 national. We were like an independent production group in the Southeast who got the first call when there was a flood or riot, or usually bad news. Every once in a while we got a nice story. We got Jim Cantori flying with the Blue Angels and some other cool stories. But most of it was, what they have a saying in the news, if it bleeds, it leads the night, But so I knew the producer. We had worked with him when NBC owned Weather Channel, because we were doing a lot of Weather Channel, obviously, in this area. And I says, man, I saw this is really good. I says, I would love to get somebody like Rocky Blyer to open our film China Beach. He goes, oh, yeah, we've heard about your film. And, all the guys are talking about it. It's really cool. And so he goes, let me call you right back. He calls me back. He goes, here's Rocky Sell. He wants to talk to you. And I just talked to him. And you know how some people that are famous, some are really nice, others are jerks. But so he's like, what? I says, send me some clips. I sent him that. He called me back. What do you want me to do? I says, I just want you to do like a 1 or 2 minute intro to the thing. He says, write me a script, send it. He had a guy up there, professional videographer, and we sent it back. We did some editing, and so that's been in there ever since. We just had him down here. It was the 50th anniversary of signing the peace treaty in Vietnam. And over in Fort Walton, next door to us here, we had 500 people at an event, and Rocky was the keynote speaker. But the funny thing about our story is we went as a redneck family reunion from Pensacola. We pulled no permits. We didn't check with just so you know what I'm like, we didn't check with our State Department. We obviously didn't check with their State Department. We were followed by the secret police the first day, but we had all these little XLR cameras. They're still cameras, but they shoot like, I think, 4K or 6K video. And they couldn't figure out what the heck we were doing. And then I played like a crazy redneck, and they left us alone. But we landed back in South Korea. You could hear the crew let out a gasp of relief that Mike didn't get us put in prison or got us killed again. But they're all amazed. And I want to go back there and show it. I've talked to people who do Vietnamese subtitles and all that. But, they said, you got to change the name because we hate the Chinese. So you're going to, and they call that's My Key Beach. The China Beach was made up by the GIs. But anyway, I just thought you get a kick out of that story. Is pretty funny. But, yeah, we got in it. Because as a documentary maker, and we've worked for enough national news, we saw many, many hours of our footage get twisted around, and it wasn't really what the story was. People are about to find out about a lot of that stuff we saw that they would never see unless they were with us behind the scenes, and we kept our mouths shut for a long time. But those days are past us now. But yeah, I mean, it's just and he's another guy like that. He just gives up his time, all the time to anything for the veterans. But anyway, this show's about you. I just thought you might get a kick out of that story. But we're talking about I'm unorthodox. Nobody takes a film crew into a communist country without pulling permit. Rocky said they had to pay all kinds of money. They had guys with them, and they couldn't go to certain places. I'm thinking, man, we just went all over the place. But that's just the way we are. That's how you get the shot. In our business. You can't play by the rules always. Let me ask.
If you tell them where you're going, then they know where to clean up.
Yeah. They're just. We just went in as a bunch of goofy rednecks, and for Pensacola, which I'm half redneck and half blue blood, so I can run with both crowds. But we got it done, and of course, it's way different over there now. And the story of the guys going back now for psychological reasons, and 9 out of 10 of them feel better after they go back to the scene of the battles or whatever. And we have a good friend. He's taken 22 different groups over there. We're the only non-military group that went over. Let me ask you on the music, and I'm a music. Go ahead.
They did a military historical tours back to Iwo Jima with Woody Williams, Carl DeHaven, Sam Holliday. He's a Navajo code talker, and some of these other guys. And I tell you what, man, that was one of the most amazing tours I could ever imagine being on, standing on top of Mount Surbachi with a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, Woody Williams, as he's telling the stories of how they changed their artillery fire trajectory from, going after landing craft and going after ships to just shooting along the beach, literally artillery rounds, 4 feet off the beach, just to kick up the glass so that it would cut the guys and get in their eyes. And unbelievable stories.
That's amazing. All those, that's a different war there as it compared to Europe. And my uncle.
But stand there and get the living history from the guys. I think that there's something to be said. It's very similar to your movie, but to be standing on those areas, like in Vietnam, to be able to be with those guys in live history, because again, the story they remember isn't the same until they get their feet on that ground again, and then all of a sudden the memories start flooding back in, and the real stories are told. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, we're indebted to one of the other guys. I mean, once we started putting the word out about this film, then we started getting approached by different people. This guy, Ronnie Ratliff, he worked on the deep water piers there, but he had a rocket come through his truck one day on a delivery, and but he was an inland guy wanted to serve. A funny story about Rocky, I asked him last time I interviewed him on this show, and I said, hey, there's a rumor when they were dragging you out on a poncho when you were wounded and figured you're never going to play football again. I said, there was a rumor that your first R&R was going to be at China Beach and you wanted to learn how to surf. I said, is that true? He goes, yeah, it was. I was pissed. So it was pretty funny. And he's from up your way. He's a Pittsburgh. He's Notre Dame is where he came from, but he's settled in Pittsburgh, and he's a big part of the Steelers there. And so he's real embedded in everything that happens up there as well. But if you ever get over to say hi to him, I'll give you an intro. You go see him. You guys will hit it off. And But let me ask you back to music. I'm a blues musician. Been at for a long time, and they let me sit in actually these days. I guess they feel sorry for the old guy, but I can give the young guys a run for their money on bass guitar. But so when you were in the military, did you have any kind of rock band or anything then, or did you start back up in music when you got out of the Corps?
No, so actually the guys would send me audio tapes of stuff they were working on, just, as a band, because again, the band I was with was in high school. Again, we had written a couple songs, but mostly just, playing copies and covers and playing parties and that kind of thing. So it was still something that was intriguing to me, and I didn't know that I could write music. I didn't know that I could sit down and write melodies and write, and write words. But I had actually, if you remember the green notebooks that they issue you in the military, for different purposes, there's different size log books. I got my hands on a couple of them, and I just started writing sort of free thought stuff. But I didn't deal really well with the part about the military that didn't sit well with me was although you're surrounded by guys and everything is team oriented and unit oriented and company oriented, battalion oriented, I felt super alone. And the one thing, actually I say two things, that really helped me get through that loneliness in the military was writing and was exercise. So like when everybody else was, out boozing, I mean, don't get me wrong, I hit the driftwood a couple times, and I've had my fair shares of Budweiser's bottles, woken up to, but was hitting the gym, and it was writing, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. Writing really, especially when I was deployed, writing really helped me. Pen to paper is something that I try to emphasize. Again, I work with numerous, military nonprofits and anti-suicide groups, and I'm like, man, take a pen with a real piece of paper and sit down and write, because it'll change your perspective. It changes your neurosynapse. It changes how you think about things, and when you start to write it down, it changes how you carry it. So some of that loneliness I started writing about, and it helped me. It helped me get me through. And then I took some of those poems and some of those writings and some of those things, of free thought things, and I've turned them into songs after I got out of the military.
So when was it that you were finished with the military?
So I got out of the military in '98, went in '93.
Okay.
So the minute 3 days after I got out, I was on stage, and I was playing with my first band that I took seriously, which I thought was seriously back then. We were playing bars and clubs, and the band itself was made up of non-military guys who had spent the last 4 years honing the craft as musicians. And I was stepping on stage as somebody who was just trying to figure it out. And but like I said, 3 days after, I was like fish to water. I picked up a microphone, and for some reason, I changed into a different person, and I felt empowered. A lot of the anger issues that I was dealing with came out. A lot of the loneliness and sadness issues came out. I found that the stage was a way for me to express myself without having to express myself in real life. So the stage ended up becoming an escape, literally, from everything that was weighing me down as a young man.
So I'm going to imagine at one point, maybe more points, but sometime in this period of time, you're thinking, this is great, but I want to do my own thing, right? And my own songs, and work with my own band. I mean, when did that all start to happen? Because that's what you're doing now.
This is project one, so you got to put me in my early 20s. I was working. I was working as a bartender. I was trying anything I could to keep my music dream alive.
Right.
We had won some regional battle of the bands. We'd saved up enough money to record an album. That album did fairly well locally. Got us some, ears perking up in some local radio stations, and then we started getting opening gigs for some major acts in the area. So again, like, opportunities started opening up. But then the guys all I had a different vision. I was about the merchandising, which would help support the band. It wasn't about being able to get paid enough money so that every guy in the band would make $100 at the end of the night and free chicken wings. For me, it was about spreading the music and getting it out there. So I'd say, hey guys, we're going to play this place for free, and I'm going to make 25 t-shirts, and hopefully we're going to get $20 a piece for them, and everybody will get their $100. But that mentality and my drive and my business sense didn't align with a lot of other guys in the band. So sometimes we didn't sell enough t-shirts, and they didn't make the money, and that started to weigh on why they were in the band and in music. And for me, I was always about, how do you expect to be seen and heard if you're always going to have your hand out first before you go up and hit the stage? So for me, it was play everything, play anywhere, do anything you possibly could. And for those guys, it didn't always align, and my frustrations grew. But listen, we packed it up. We went to California. We tried to make it happen in Southern California. I thought that if we got everybody together out there, it would refocus us. Instead, it separated us as a band. And then after that, I packed it up. I basically said, okay, well, if I can't make it here, I can't make it there. I had 7 years invested into that project. And I went home and started, just working. I started working, bought a house with my wife, future wife, who had been my girlfriend the entire time through all of this. And
wow.
we purchased a house, purchased a home. I played house and kind of gave up on music, and I was called back in. Music called me back. I picked up another mini label, and we started another project called One Echo One, which was my call sign in the military.
Okay.
And then that project itself lent itself to opening up again for bigger acts. And then long story short is that band ended, and I had an option to go up to New York and audition for a band called Madison Rising. And I took that, and for 5 years I was signed to that label, which is getting long-winded. That label came to an end, and I started my own thing.
And that was what time period was that? At this point now, you're saying you're pretty much doing your own thing.
That's the last 25 years in a nutshell.
Exactly. Okay. I feel your pain and your happiness all at once.
Yeah.
I've been there. And I was always the guy in the band that kept it all going. And sometimes I wondered what I'm the business guy. I'm your mommy. Am I the bank? Am I the psychiatrist? What the hell am I? I just want to play the bass and arrange music. But somebody has to do that.
My wife, in each of those projects, my wife always stepped up. Becky always stepped up and was like, I will help manage. I will help.
You're a lucky man. You're a lucky man to have a wife.
Yeah, every single one.
Yeah.
And then once we lost the label, even the last one, she was working for the label as well. And after that came to an end, we were like, okay, well, now we're fully trained. We know how to operate. We know how to do this. Let's do it. So she took over the logistics, the PR, the outreach. I took over the studio and the creative side of things. I took over the merchandising. We bought a print shop. We started printing our own T-shirts, printing our own records, doing everything ourselves, and we created our own little mini entertainment company out of Dave Bray, USA, and that was what has kept us alive. It's put food on the table for my family for the last going on 10 years.
Well, that's and for some of the younger people that are wanting to make a career in the entertainment and music business, this is what you have to do. You have to have the passion, but you got to be willing to wear a lot of different hats. And my history is very similar to yours. And I'm on the back end of my career now, but I'm still producing, getting to play somewhat and all. But being an independent business, we're doing 3 or 4 different things in the production areas of entertainment. And we put it all together, and it takes care of us. And we don't have like the big boss man, at the record company saying, you need to do this, or at the TV station. We produce content, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, but we're producing exactly what we want to produce. So, and the people they're finding us. They know we're there, and so now we're in present day. Dave Bray, and with all due respect, and I've followed your career and I've read a lot about you, and you're great, man. And I bet a lot of those single ladies are sad that you're married. He's a good looking. We're running your video right now on the screen, so.
Oh, believe me, they'd run away if they knew me. Like I said, there's the one woman who has actually stuck by me through thick and thin is still by me, and I don't know why she did it. I don't know why she does it, but she does it, and I love her eternally for the sacrifice that she's made to bring me my 2 beautiful sons, to help keep our home, to keep our business alive. She's done more than any other person that I would ever find. And then she fills my heart, so it's to have somebody in the trenches with you, to have a battle buddy in this game, someone who is willing to, stand up and fight just alongside of you, as well as reload magazines and help you bury the bodies. I mean, there's nobody else on this planet that I would ever want to put in that situation, or whoever could fill those shoes.
You're lucky and you're blessed. I mean, it's I'm a 3-time loser in the marriage department, but still all friends with them and all. But the problem I've had, like maybe I make bad choices, but the one thing is, if you have a partner and you're in this business, they can't have any jealous bones in their body, because it's the way it looks on the surface is not the reality sometimes. I just play a crazy guy on TV, but I'm not really that guy. I'm just a regular guy. But you're blessed, and I think that a lot of things, it's your destiny. Just these things just don't happen by accident all the time. It's just
the way the energy was flowing, and the creators, got a plan laid out for all of us. I've been on death's doorstep more than once, half a dozen times, and he snatches me back and says, you got to keep moving forward. You got to entertain the folks and teach them something at the same time. It's kind of, what we do.
Well, I feel like since you're broaching into that space, I feel I get leery when I see these monster mega churches, and as much as I think that the church is, for the most part, out for the best interest of the masses, the church is always out for the best interest of the building.
Yeah.
And that for me is counterintuitive to what religion or what faith truly is. And I believe every human that stands on this earth. Your intro talks about fame, and some are famous. I think the fact that you even pulled the lottery ticket to be here, you are famous. You're living the Truman Show right now. Every single one, every human on the planet is living their own dream, their own destiny out. And as far as faith goes, I believe we all have our own unique relationship with a higher power and a God, and Jesus or God or whoever your higher power truly is. Your relationship is going to be different than the next person. So when people start saying organized religion, I start taking a step back, because that's somebody else's idea of what faith is supposed to be.
That's a business. That becomes a business, which
I think
takes away from the spirituality.
Judge people by any of that, but I do judge people by how they adhere to what their own personal faith is. And then you got to show me, man. You got to show me that you're willing to take those blind steps forward. Like those guys in the band that had their hands out before they played a note. I'm like, man, you got to take some blind steps here if you want to really, really get in touch with what faith is, what a higher power can do for you, what roads and what lights will turn on and what doors will open, until you're really willing to walk some steps and take some time, not just a week in between jobs or a month in between jobs. Take a few years where you just have nothing but absolute blind faith into what you are supposed to be doing on this planet, until you can expose what your true calling is. You're missing out on the best part of life. Absolutely. I see people that just give away years and years, decades of their lives to working dock working, and you're enslaving the one thing that you were given by God. You're giving it away to some guy sitting on a beach somewhere sipping margaritas.
Yep.
I'd rather live under a bridge for a month or 2, 3 months until I figured it out. But man, for anybody out there listening, if you haven't figured it out yet, man, take some blind walks and faith, and you will find the right people and the right places to be, and your feet and your heart will guide you there.
Yeah, living on the edge is scary sometimes, but it's very rewarding many times. And
you've got to go for your dream. You got to go for your passion. I mean, so many people, like I say, they're working at some kind of dead end career that they're not happy. Maybe they're making big money. I don't know, but you've got to. I mean, I enjoy what I'm doing. Early on, I kind of found out I like being around this business. I've tried a lot of other things too, but I always had my fingers in music and entertainment and producing shows and things. And it's the money comes. It's feast or famine. Some months are really great, other financially, and other months are. But we're doing something that it's like going right. You go to a cocktail party. Well, what do you do, Dave? Well, I'm an international artist and singer. Yeah, but what do you do? What's like your regular job? No, this is what I do. I had people my card. This guy could be an executive with a major corporation. He's like, what? He goes, yeah, check me out. Go to my website. Go to my Facebook page. By the way, does your company need a video? We do corporate videos. We can do that for you. Hey, we're kind of coming to the end. A couple other things I wanted to cover. And with all due respect, I mean, you obviously know who Lee Greenwood is, and Lee's getting up there. So you're kind of you're like a next generation with your own style. But
that's true. That's exactly where I want to be.
That's a big compliment I'm giving you. That's kind of. It's kind of like with B.B. King when I interviewed him on my radio show years ago. I was like, man, he says, I'm not the best blues player. I says, I know exactly what you do in playing. But I said, you're the best ambassador, And I said, the civilians relate to you. They're not afraid of you, so to speak. Some of those guys in the blues are pretty, it's almost like talking to bikers, sometimes. But, so I look at your career and I said, man, here's kind of the next Lee Greenwood that's going to be, in music and the songs that you're doing and the anthem and so forth. It's just you grab people's attention, and obviously it's musical, it's visual, it's all these other things. But anyway, I just wanted to say that to you. That I think that your career. I mean, you're at that point now. It's just I think going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, it can't help but get bigger.
We got a good little bundle of fire going. We just need a little bit of firewood. Yeah. You brought up something. You said you get to produce everything you want to produce, and that has been probably my only hurdle, is that I cannot produce all of what I have in the can that's ready to be produced.
Right.
I have stacks and stacks of music and stacks of anthems and things that I know people need to hear.
Right.
And just don't have that connection that a major label can afford me. And it's just, again, it's the same with the stage and the platforms. I mean, you can try to do it all on social media, but until you get out there and you show the people what you can do, it's a bit of it's quicksand. However much you put into it is how much these social media boxes will take from you.
Right.
So that's my only thing that I feel as though has not held me back, and I don't even want to say that, but it's like the last hurdle. Is like I need to find someone who can help me produce these songs, get them over the top,
right,
and help me finish the mission that I started out in the beginning, back when I first went out as a solo artist, because I feel like the best of my stuff is still unheard, and that's a tough thing to go to bed every night knowing, as an artist, and you get that,
right,
knowing that I have so much more to offer and just not getting the opportunity to give it.
Yeah, there's back
in my prime, it was the record companies, the bigger ones. They developed artists, they developed songs. Are you still there? Hello?
Yeah, still here.
Okay, we had a call trying to come in, but we got rid of them. But they don't do that much anymore. So, I mean, it's even like with us in our film work, we at least now, because the equipment has become way more reasonably priced and it's better equipment. But if we have, what's the saying, Mark, we have, is, Mark, you've been real quiet today, too. So, anyway, that's my producer. He's my sidekick. We got a saying that one of our heroes said a while back, and that was, it's not the wand, it's the magician.
Correct.
It's like one of these guys that, he's a great musician, but he could pick up a dime store guitar and make it sound like a vintage Gretsch guitar or something, But
yeah,
it's the opportunity to produce today is probably better than it's ever been. The only problem is these big companies like the Motowns and these different record labels like that, they developed artists back then, but they were very controlled as well. So it's a double-edged sword, but I think you keep doing what you're doing. So what's coming? This is going to probably air, a few days or a week after us recording this. What's in the future here over the next couple months? Anything you want to talk about?
Just always releasing new music. So we got with the 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps, we're going to be re-releasing our rock rendition of the Marine Hymn, and then we are also going to be re-releasing that Star Spangled Banner for the 10th. The anniversary, the 250th anniversary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's really kind of the anniversary of the military in general. I mean, that goes back to the Revolutionary War, where the Marines were on that boat, that ship, and that was their first battle. Okay, well that's great, and they can go to is it DaveBrayUSA.com?
Yep. Everything is DaveBrayUSA.com. If you want to find my Facebook pages, we put all kinds of stuff up there, obviously.
Yeah, we're looking at it right now. It looks like you got your links and everything is on there.
Yep, everything's there, Dave Bray USA, guys. So thank you so very much, Mike. I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for having me on. And
thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, and we'll have you on again, and we'll get out to see you, maybe do a little remote with you next time you're in the area.
You got it, brother. Thank you so much.
Right.
God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, that was it, folks, with Dave Bray. That's our shooting star, rising star. He's had a heck of a career, and it's not over yet, so definitely we want you to go to DaveBrayUSA.com. By the way, our show is sponsored by My Cotton Productions. What do? We do a few different things. One is, for over 55 years, I personally and many of the team have been in the production business. We like to say the film video business. Don't really shoot a lot of film today. It's video, but everything from TV commercials, reality shows, documentaries, we can do it. We have people that are well qualified. Our director has a couple of Emmys and is one of the best in the business. Also, we digitize, so all those old videotapes and 8mm movies and cassette tapes, anything in audio, video, we have the capability, and probably more so than just about anybody in the United States, to take that analog material and convert it into a digital platform, and at that point it stops degrading. Then we can put it on a drive, a disk. A lot of people now are putting their memories and so forth up on the cloud. So it's just another place you can save it there. But a lot of this material today that we're getting, it's starting to degrade at a much more rapid pace than it did in the past. Our podcast, Their Stories, we invite you to try to get on the show. We're looking for, obviously, celebrities, musicians, entertainers, also people that are involved in very unique businesses, people that are tourist destinations, special events. So give us a call. It's up on the screen, 850-384-1484. Obviously, we do remotes. We also have a studio in Pensacola. Today was kind of a half and half. I'm in the studio, and then Dave Bray was, where was he? Up in Pennsylvania, I guess. So we mix it up with a lot of stuff you're seeing on the screen, his videos and pictures and so forth. So we'll edit in some of that stuff before we release this particular show. So once again, thanks for supporting us. This is Their Stories, and remember, some people are very famous. Some people are sort of famous, but most of us aren't famous at all. But one thing we all have in common, we've all got great stories. This is Mike Cotton checking out from Their Stories. We'll see you next time. Thank you.